You can walk away from this program tonight, and you can walk away and you have a myriad of choices. You could be frightened. You could be overwhelmed. You could just watch it and say, boy, honey, come here, you got to see this, and then do nothing. Or you can be part of a solution. The first part of a solution is to end political correctness. We must not be afraid. I'm going to be in Chicago this weekend. I'm giving a speech in Chicago, not at Hizb ut-Tahrir, but with a group of activists, grassroots activists, that have had enough. And my message to them will be the same message that I give you tonight. Enough is enough. Have no fear anymore. You know who you are. Evil is spreading, and we must end it. But how do we end it? Well, there's several ways. Here's one. End political correctness. Sticks and stones will break your bones. Names will never hurt you. Union mob members, they'll hurt you, and they'll break your bones. But names will never hurt you. You know who you are. Don't care anymore what they call you. And it's also time, too, to put your money where your heart is. Not where your mouth is, but where your heart is. There are very few places that are fighting to stop this because, well, honestly, I had a friend call me last night who will remain nameless, and he spoke out on a subject. The McCarthy era is here, gang. I talked to him yesterday around noon. He said, Glenn, I'm going to lose my job. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my professorship just because I said what I believed. And it's true, isn't it? And I said, yes, it is. He said, I'm going to lose my job. My wife doesn't understand. And I said, you know what? When I first started to speak out, I don't know if my wife really understood. If you happen to see and you don't say something, well, what help is that? If you happen to see people who are struggling, we need to start putting our money where our heart is. We need to support them together. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser was mentioned earlier today. He's the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. He's an incredible man. I've known him for years now. He is a Muslim who is standing up fearlessly. Irshad Manji is the director of the Moral Courage Project at the Robert F. Wagner Graduate School of Public Service at NYU. Irshad is a woman that I met when I was over at CNN. This is really before I was very brave, and I said, it's most likely not going to end well for you. She said, I know. I said, why would you do it? Her response was, because somebody has to. Frank Gaffney, Center for Security Policy, the executive director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism, one of the world's largest storehouses of archival data and intelligence on the Islamic and Middle Eastern terrorist groups. Another man who I think is remarkable is David Horowitz. This is the Freedom Center or the Freedom Center. David Horowitz and his group have been speaking out for so long. I invite you to go to all of these websites and see if you think they're worthy of service. If they're worthy of service, I would ask that you would donate. PalWatch is another website. P-A-L Watch. I think it's is it palwatch.org? All of these sites and all of these people are going to be listed at glennbeck.com. A gentleman that was mentioned earlier was Steve Emerson, a remarkable man. He was popular on the national news for about a month. Yeah, I believe it was late September 2001. Everybody rejected him, said he was a hate monger, didn't want to listen to what he had to say before September 11th, 2001, but he was warning. He was standing fast and standing firm. September 11th happened, and all of a sudden he couldn't keep up with all the requests to be on television. But then CARE and others started to target him. Now you rarely see Steve Emerson on television. I think he's a man of decency and a man who's been standing for a very long time, just trying to speak the truth. Look him up if you have the time or inclination or the money. Help him. There's another group, Memory. What I am telling you, what is happening in Israel, is headed here. If you don't want the bombings in the streets, the lies about the border, you need to stand with people like Memory. I will tell you that I have a new friend. He's the head of Memory. He was in my office, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. He came in to help me with some things that we were working on. He lives in Israel now. He's a guy who was on the plane coming back from America to Israel. He was in the intelligence service, and he had just given a speech. I believe it was at the Pentagon. And he had just said, you've got to look out because terrorism is coming your way. And he was pretty much dismissed by some people in the room. He got back onto a plane, and he was flying back. By the time he landed in Israel, the First World Trade Center bombing had happened. Here's a man who served his whole life trying to stop craziness. He has an organization called Memory, MEMRI. Check it out at memory.org. He was in my office, and he was asking me how he could help, but I sensed that something was wrong. He wouldn't tell me. I found out later that some of the challenges that he is facing, and there are many, many challenges to tell the truth in the Middle East. He's a guy who puts people all over the world trying to find the words of extremists and translate them and put them on video so people can see what they're saying in their own words. Igal is a guy who helped us with the first special we ever did on Islamic extremism over at CNN. His work is invaluable. I would ask that if you have the inclination, if you have the money, to please help Memory, memory.org, MEMRI.
GBTV, the truth lives here.